Perfectionism is a trauma response, and this is why. So, why do we want things to be so perfect? Like, there must be a reason for it. And the reason is because if we think, if I do things perfectly, I will be safe. So where did we develop this idea? Where did we develop this mindset? For most people, this occurs in childhood. So the reason that perfectionism develops is because the mind requires autonomy and agency above most things in order to be a healthy mind. Autonomy and agency mean that we need to feel like we have control over the world and we can influence the world around us in order to be mentally well, essentially. And so when we're small, we typically don't have control over most things. Like, most things are just happening to us. And that is a real struggle for the human mind, even for children. And so what we do is we develop a sense of control by developing this mindset around perfectionism. We start thinking, well, if I do things just right, then I will be safe. These bad things won't happen to me. If I dress in just the right clothes, I won't get bullied. If I do my homework just right, the teacher won't yell at me, or my parents won't yell at me, whatever. And so we develop all of these mechanisms to retain our sense of agency in the world. The problem is that this is obviously maladaptive, because now as an adult, most of you are adults, this isn't really serving you. It's actually not really that worthwhile to be that perfect. It's actually typically causing more harm than good for most people at this point, because you no longer need to protect your agency the way you did when you were a child. You actually do have agency as an adult. Most adults have a variety of options and can mostly do whatever they please in comparison to children. And so if this is you, if you've developed this perfectionistic mindset, there's only one way to break it, and you're not going to like it. You're not going to like it at all. But what happens with these theories that the mind develops when we're young is that they never get tested out. And so essentially they don't get retested. And so how do you break a theory? You collect more data. And what's happening for most people is that they continue living their life as if they were children, like as if I have to do things just right to be safe. And they don't test it out. So essentially what needs to happen is you need to present yourself more data. And the only way to break this chain is that if you present more data and then you remain safe, like if you do something not perfect and you're still okay, then you will learn that you don't need to be perfect. But until that happens, you will sustain this idea that I need to do things just right, otherwise horrible things will happen. And so in order to break out of your perfectionism, you're going to have to start doing little experiments to test it out. Like maybe you don't spend as many hours as you normally do on a presentation. Maybe you cut it down by 20% and see what happens. Does it still go well? Are you still okay? Do you still have a job? For most people, at least when it comes to my clients, the answer is yes. And so you need to run these experiments by trying to do things less perfect and seeing that you're fine, you're still okay. And then your mind will learn and realize hey, we don't need to do things at this level to remain safe. This is maybe something we developed much earlier in life, and it's just not necessary anymore. And this will free you up to do more and essentially just also feel a lot better.